You've been quoted for saying that you will have an increased focus on sustainability and impact when doing investments, both in portfolio companies and in your funds. How will you work with that? How will you look at the specifics in each portfolio company and fund?
Coming back to what I just said, this is sustainability throughout everything we do. So of course it will take different forms, be applied in different manners, depending on whether we're working with an already green company and green technologies, or we're working with a tech company, a life science company, a more traditional manufacturing or services company, because you need to acknowledge Vækstfonden is not only about entrepreneurs and venture funds. We're about that, but we're about a whole lot of other areas of interest and activity. We fund companies all across industries, all throughout Denmark, and that really puts us in a position where we can influence and drive change pervasively throughout Denmark. Given that we can learn from industries and have that feed into other industries. There's a lot of cross fertilization that we can unleash essentially.
Will we see any sectors that will have your specific focus, or some sectors that you say we will not touch that anymore? Or would that be a specific decision from time to time?
Our mandate at Vækstfonden is all-inclusive, essentially. So any company, any area where we can drive change, stimulate innovation, generate revenue, and drive job creation, we will be there, and we will be there long term. So it's not about saying there are certain industries, certain sectors that we will pull out of to focus more narrowly on other areas. It's really about that pervasive approach. You can drive sustainability everywhere, and it's important that we do so. And of course, there are some areas that are more obvious when it comes to sustainability. Energy powering, energy consumption. There's food. The way we produce, refine, distribute, consume, and collect unused, wasted food calls for dramatic change. There's an entire value chain there where you will be seeing us diving into very deep, but not at the expense of other industries. So it's really about picking some focus areas where Denmark has some strongholds, or a path that we and others can see toward building such a stronghold.
How will you work with that actively? Will your main focus be in the investment process, or will it be like when you have invested, then you will actively work with the company? And and how will you do that? Have you any plans for that or ideas on that?
A lot of ideas, some strategies and some tactics, and then a very open mind to how we can drive that. It's very much about all the individual encounters that we have with companies. When we meet them the first time, getting to know each other, the due diligence stage toward making that investment, and then the partnership from there. All those interactions really are a great opportunity for us to have a conversation about how can we help your business model, your mindset, go toward a more sustainable approach.
One never-ending discussion seems to be impact versus financials. Can you drive financial goals all together with driving impact goals as well? How do you see that? Do you see these two as two factors that go together, or as contradictions?
I see the two coming together. I see the two converging, and they have to. And luckily they are now, and more people are opening up to that. But my sense is that in some areas, in some industries, and when it comes to certain technologies, we need to take a different approach than the traditional VC approach. When you compare a tech company that's fully digitized with a software as a service model. Scaling that, taking that to profitability, well, that's a completely different task from a new way to produce energy, to store energy, to deal with waste, to have that recycled and be used all over again. It's more long-term. It's more capital intensive because you need to build a plan in order to know if the technology works and all of that. So it calls for a different investment horizon, calls for a different risk appetite, but we should definitely stay focused on, and we will do that at Vækstfonden, getting into such ventures that have the potential to deliver long-term both impact and financial returns. There's no other way that we can deliver on another thing that's important to Vækstfonden and to our mandate, that of crowding in private capital. If we want private investors to start investing in some of those areas, we need to be able to demonstrate to them that even if you have to wait a long time for the returns to materialize, they will materialize, at least if we go about it in a diversified fashion. Different approaches will have to be developed, and we're developing them as we go along. But make no mistake about it, it has to be about both environmental impact, societal impact on the one side, and financial return.
So when will we see the most happy CEO of Vækstfonden? Will that be, when the portfolio company reaches its impact goals, or when it reaches the financial goals? That will be a question that is impossible to answer.
I'll have a go at it anyway. Vækstfonden is all about making a difference. The way to measure if we deliver on that is is to look for impact on the economy as a whole. How many jobs are created? What are the revenues generated across the companies? How many companies are created and sustained from what we do? And then because of the way we do it, we take long-term risk. We get in early. We can stay on for as long as it takes. But when we do it in a balanced way with financial instruments that create that balance between risk and reward. So when these companies actually become successful, when they have built value, then some of that value will find its way back to Vækstfonden, and then there will also be. There should be sustainable financial returns in Vækstfonden, but that's not what we're motivated by. What we're motivated by, what we're asked to do, is make that impact. And when it comes to sustainability, well, how do you measure sustainability? Well, that's down to how much CO2 is taken out of the atmosphere, to what levels can we elevate recycling rates across products and materials and all of that. So we are developing a broader range of impact measures to demonstrate that we're delivering on that.